before the Declaration of Independence, there was one event that started the colonists' march towards revolution. What was this one event, and how did it start a decades-long journey to an eventual war? We get into all that right now on History's News. Welcome back to History's News, where we bring you the facts straight from the past. I'm your host, Bob, and today we go back to the Stamp Act of 1765. We have a reporter live in the field in Boston, Tommy. Tommy, what can you tell us about when and where you are?
Hey there, Bobby, how are ya? Dream Team back again, am I right? I'm right. All right. I am here in New York, and the year is 1765. And let me just tell you a little bit, Bobby. People around here, they're fired up. All right? The events of the last few days has got everybody wicked angry.
Oh, what's got them so worked up?
People here just found out about the Stamp Act, a new law passed by Parliament which says that any or almost any piece of paper in the colonies has to have a fancy and official British stamp on it.
Almost all paper, you say?
Yeah, Bobby, it's called the Stamp Act because almost every piece of paper, for it to be legal, needs this special fancy British stamp on it. And I'm going to be honest, Bobby, the art of the stamp isn't even that cool.
Here we go again.
All right, Bobby, hold on a second. Let me just lay it out for you before you get all upset. All right? Right now there are no electronics. News to me. All right? And paper is king. All right? Well, King George is king, but paper is king of communications. It's like a metaphor. And once this law goes into effect, all right, nobody will be able to obtain a license or a loan. No one will be able to transfer land or draft a will. Nobody will be able to earn a diploma or buy a newspaper or even a deck of cards legally unless it is printed on the special English paper with the royal stamp from the Treasury. Bananas.
Well, Tommy, so the paper needed to be from England and it needed to be stamped by the Royal Treasury for it to be considered legal. Even on things such as playing cards. That seems like a big deal.
Yeah, Bobby, it's a huge deal. All right, the paper is everywhere. All right, I'm not even going to be able to play Go Fish with my grandma without the Royal Treasury staring me right in the face. Tell me that's not going to throw off my concentration.
Tommy, I'm hearing this is one of the first taxes put on the colonists by Parliament and King George, along with the Currency and the Sugar Act. But my question is, why now? Why 1765?
Bobby, I don't know.
Oh, not this again.
I'm just kidding, Bobby. Right? I got you. But you got to remember that colonists have basically been able to dodge taxes from Parliament and King George up until this point. However, the really long 7 Years' War that the British fought against the French, combined with conflicts all over the globe, have basically left them broke. All right, they need money. There are a few nickels short of $1 right now, and they're going to the colonists to pay for it.
Okay, but why not just tax their own people? Why not just tax those people living in England?
Oh, I like the way you think there, Bobby. However, English citizens were already heavily taxed. And since the 7 Years' War was fought over here in the colonies, defending the colonies, Parliament thought that they should pay for their own defense.
But why is the Stamp Act causing such a hullabaloo? The Currency Act and the Sugar Act were passed at around the same time.
Wow, these are some hard-hitting questions there, Bobby. No wonder they pay you the big bucks, huh?
Well, thank you, Tommy. Funny you say that, because over the years, many people have said that
Yeah, right, whatever. Let's keep it moving. So basically, the Stamp Act affected everybody. The Currency Act affected mostly just the South, and the Sugar Act affected mostly just the smugglers in New England. But everybody needs paper, and everybody uses paper. So the Stamp Act affected every single one of the colonies.
Okay, but surely the colonists could understand that they have to pay a little bit, for their own defense. I'll be honest, this doesn't seem like that outrageous of a move by Parliament and King George.
You have to understand, the colonists weren't that upset about the Stamp Act itself. It was more about how it happened and what it could mean for the future, for future taxes and laws put on them by Parliament.
So they were a little bit worried that Parliament would continue to tax them.
Colonists were upset because they had no elected officials in Parliament, and therefore no say on the taxes that were put on them. Right? This is when the popular phrase, no taxation without representation, very catchy, started to become popular around this area.
So not so upset about the Stamp Act itself, but more so what it meant for the future and future taxes. I see. Okay, so what happened next?
Well, the colonists decided to fight back and basically said, no, I don't want to do that. So, I'm not gonna.
Oh, okay. Seems a little risky, but I mean, how did they say no? How did they fight back?
Well, let me tell you, Bobby, founding father Samuel Adams really got going during this time, all right? He was in his bag, all right? 1765 is actually when the Sons of Liberty started to form, all right? So the Stamp Act was announced around March of 1765, but wasn't supposed to go into effect till November. So the colonists used that time to turn public opinion against the Stamp Act.
So they decided to fight back by turning public opinion against the Stamp Act. I mean, using what, Propaganda?
Propaganda is right, Bobby, and let me just tell you, they were on fire. All right? Each area was supposed to have a person who was in charge of distributing the stamps, but the colonists basically just, intimidated them. I just gotta show them these babies one time, right, Bobby? Massachusetts even called all colonies to an emergency meeting to discuss how they could unite in their fight against the Stamp Act. 9 colonies sent delegates to this meeting that is known as the Stamp Act Congress. There was protests, there were angry mobs, there was looting. By the time the law was supposed to go in effect, no area had a person who was willing to be the distributor of the stamps.
Wow, this seems like an aggressive stance by the colonists.
Yeah, the colonists also heavily boycotted British goods, which had a huge impact. British merchants actually put a lot of pressure on Parliament to repeal the Stamp Act, since they were losing so much business. There was an extremely famous cartoon, which you can see here, showing the funeral of the Stamp Act. This was actually printed in a British newspaper and caused a lot of embarrassment for Parliament.
Quite the visual. I can see why it had such an impact.
Yeah, I prefer Family Guy, but it ain't bad.
Very good there, Tommy. So what did this ultimately mean for the colonists and their eventual revolution over a decade later?
Yeah, Bobby, overall, the colonists were just really nervous about Parliament being able to tax them without them having a say in it. They wanted to be part of the government, not just pawns to be used by Parliament whenever they needed money.
Anything else to add there, Tommy? You're doing fantastic.
Yeah, Bobby, even though this happened over a decade before the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a lot of people think the Stamp Act was the beginning of the end for the British in the colonies. Parliament and King George were never really able to get over the events of the Stamp Act, and the rebellious activity that started during this time continued and grew right up until the Revolution.
All right, everybody, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of History's News. I'm your host, Bob. See you next time.